All right, so just a heads up, this week we are in week 4. That's why it's slow. And so for assignments, you need to do everything through week 4. Just reviewing this, just so you know where you're at in the class, so do all that stuff. You got a programming one. Your grade, when you calculate your grade, the video is going to be different than the way it is now. How I show you do this to calculate your grade, right? Like add up all of the jumping jack points. Well, we no longer have jumping jacks in this class, so you're just going to figure out based upon the syllabus. Have your grades from my IT lab, have your grades from Blackboard. You'll create categories based upon the way it's structured now and for assignments that you're given now. And don't use the one shown in the course, but in the video. But the video will show you how to do it, but it's just with different categories and assignments and things, okay? So you do your grade. This is really valuable, knowing how to do this. Knowing how to do this can help you do really well in school. If you understand how to calculate your grade in each class, you can calculate your grade. You can meet with your teacher, say, am I calculating my grade correctly? Your teacher will say yes. And then you always know exactly where you're at in each class. So you could kind of use that to moderate how much effort you put where. So as soon as I got an A in a class, cool, I got 90%, I'm done. I'm going to go focus on another class. I was always like, because the difference between a B student and an A student can be 0.5%. So I was always like an A student with like low A's. 90%, 91%, perfect. That's all I need to work for an A. I got an A, I'm done. Go do something else. Unless I was interested in the material, then I'd do it just because I liked it. So that's a really good assignment to understand. There's extra credit to do here. So you do your assignments, extra credit. If you're in the online class, you want to post the discussions. And then in my IT lab, we're done with that. That's week 1. And then week 2, 3, 4. So you're doing the third assessment in Word, right? In there, out of 4, you're doing the third one. And then down here, you should be through chapter 4 in the quizzes, right there. Okay? And this we'll do next week. As soon as you finish Word, you'll do the Word test. So it's like a hands-on. Again, you can do as many times as you want, but you just create a thing. So that's the homework. And then for the videos, right, you can come in, check out this playlist, and you can kind of see broken out a little bit more clearly some of these different things in here. And that's week 3, week 4. Let me see what here's week 2, right? So here's coding scheme, Moore's law, circuits, binary digits, how many bits, power symbol, and then changing your desktop, copying and pasting, selecting all, using Control F to find things on a page, using Alt-Tab to switch between open applications. That's often one that people are excited about when they learn that. It's like, oh, I could go here, and I could go there, and then I could go here, and then I could go there. Alt-Tab. Counting and binary, we saw that. And then a couple of videos. So we saw most of week 2 there. And then week 3, so overview of hardware, I/O devices, input-output devices, just categorizing a device by whether it's an input or output. The system unit, so that's the system unit, that case. And then understanding the motherboard, opening that up. And then on the motherboard, there's something called buses, which are just wires that we send signals on, pulses of electricity to represent 0 or 1. And then, looking at, drives on there, and ports are the little places in the back where you plug things in. And on the motherboard, you have additional slots, like there's slots for RAM. But then we have additional slots where you could expand the capabilities of your computer, so they're called expansion slots. So you could buy another piece of hardware that allows you to do something, right? It used to be like network cards. You could buy a network card, but now that's built right into motherboards. I don't know what kind of cards you buy today. And here's about upgrading RAM and computer remembering, which we just talked about. So if you're in the online class, you really need to watch this video. And that's where I diagrammed everything on the board. I do that right there if you want to review that. And then some of the terminology for the CPU we just drew on the board. And then we talked about ROM and BIOS and booting and BIOS settings. So you could see me play with some BIOS settings right there. So you could set a low-level BIOS password, makes your computer, before it even loads operating system, you have to enter a password, right? And talk about word size. So the word size on this, you hear about, this computer is a 64-bit. So 2.5 gigahertz, Intel Core i7. I don't know if it says it anywhere there, but if I looked up what an i7 is, I would see that it's 64-bit processor. Display age, storage, support, service, overview, system report. And I'm just looking here to see if it says it. Shows you right in Windows really easily. I don't know where you do it in Mac. So word size is how many zeros and ones your CPU can process at once. And so most computers today, all new computers today are 64 bits. They can handle 64 zeros and ones at once. And older computers are 32 bits. So sometimes when you're downloading software, it'll say, do you want the 64-bit version or the 32-bit version? What CPU do you have? So you can find out. So mine was an Intel Core i7 64-bit. How to tell if your Mac is 64-bit? Basically, any Mac released after 2006 is 64-bit. That's mine. i7 is 64-bit. So that's word size. Components that impact computer speed, that's primarily your RAM. And could be your hard drive if you had a solid-state drive instead of your hard drive. How to speed up your computer. This will show you how to speed up your computer. If you have a crappy old computer, you could just reformat the hard drive and install a new operating system. You can install Linux. So you can install Ubuntu, which is Linux. Or you could do a lighter version, light Linux. Best lightweight Linux distros, distributions, they call them distros. Peppermint was one I played with for a minute. I don't know why they have a bunch of different ones. Different people just spend way too much time coding. Amazing coders out there, pretty amazing. So you can install that on your old computer. So I have an old computer and I installed Linux and gave it to my son. Bang away. And then if he messes up, I'll just install it again. Or if you want to experiment for learning purposes with BitTorrent, do it on a Linux machine that's a throwaway machine, and when it gets junked up, you just reinstall Linux. So speeding up your computer, surge suppressors. Electricity will surge sometimes, especially if there's lightning or something. So you can have a surge suppressor to protect your computer. A few other things in there. That's week 3. And then we talked about IPOS, input processing, output storage. Cache registers, RAM. There's what RAM looks like. RAM sticks, SIMs, DIMMs. I don't know what they're called now. RAM wiki. Random access memory. Dual inline memory modules. Synchronous dynamic RAM modules. Just looking here. Non-volatile DIMMs. I don't know. We talked about ROM and BIOS. There's a picture of a BIOS screen. There's your motherboard. And so on here, which color is the one where you plug in RAM? Anybody? Purple, because it's got these little white handles. And this is where your CPU would go. There used to be expansion slots. Here you can see it says dual BIOS. So BIOS is mentioned up there. Here's the battery. It's probably an old one. Plug in old school hard drives here, new school hard drives there. Like I said, it's an old motherboard. This would be for AGP, accelerated graphics port. Plug in a graphics card. It's your motherboard. So just some of the different things I just said. Bus carries data around. So USB is a universal serial bus, right? We just learned about bus, universal serial bus. Serial meaning it sends things in single file line, serial, one at a time. S-E-R-I-A-L. Bandwidth is how much data could go from one place to another. So we say that that's bandwidth. We also call it throughput. So it's the amount of data that could go over a bus and how quickly it could go over the bus. That gives you how much can travel in a certain period of time. The throughput or bandwidth. Talk about broadband. I got broadband internet at home. It sends a lot of data. Ports and connectors are those things on the back. Cool, 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 cool. See if there's anything good to watch. This is pretty good for fun. I like these. That's in the links. You can click on it. Just orienting your head. Like I was talking with that student who does the racing, he's like, man, cops are so stupid. They just follow the same routines every day and you just know where they are and you could race. I was like, no man, cops aren't stupid. They do a really important job and it's dangerous and often they're really smart people. He's like, well, yeah, you know, I know that, but they follow the same routes. But it's like, you know, who would say, you know, where would you attribute that? Saying, no, cops are smart people versus talking bad about people. Talking bad about people versus that. I don't know, I'm just rambling. This is kind of a cool one too. I'll let you check it out. Start now, basically, is what it is. And this is great. This book. So I'm always a little suspicious of these kinds of books, but then I got tired of like driving and listening to the radio, so I ordered a bunch of books on tape, CD kinds of things. It's really good. I really like it. I recommend you check it out, just FYI. We saw the UTF-8 video. Future of the CPU. All right. Anybody have any questions? No questions. Did you guys learn something good today? Yeah? You got your money's worth? No refund requests? Cool.